5 major golf tours. And the best in sports television with an executive twist. Keep up with the small talk of big business on CNBC Sports.
CNBC's MGM Movie Night presents Three Tales of Terror.
We were able to bring you back to the living.
You would die if you touched me.
When I get what I want from this house, then I'll leave.
Do you think you can outwit a ghost?
Twice Told Tales. Tonight at 9 p.m. on CNBC Asia.
Barometer. However, Caterpillar subtracted almost 13 points. GM down 8. Alcoa subtracted 6 points from the Dow, Hewlett-Packard, and United Technology. Let's go to Bob Pisani now at the New York Stock Exchange. Bob?
Tyler, here's a key point for next week. It's going to be very similar issues that dominated in the second half of this week. Number one, the dollar. Will the dollar continue to rally? Remember, many traders continue to want to see the dollar stay weak because of the competitive advantage it provides to U.S. corporations operating overseas. Number two is the overall issue of the technology sector and where that is going. We have noted this week that techs have been underperforming the major indices, first for the day, the week, and indeed for the last 4 weeks. Will that continue? Those are going to be the two major themes. Mr. Greenspan will also be testifying. It's going to be somewhat of a light week next week in terms of earnings. We'll get Federated, we'll get Home Depot, we'll get Lowe's, but by and large, most of the major stocks have reported in the S&P 500. Here's the major indices on the week. The Dow is essentially flat on the week. Let's not quibble with less than 1/10 of a point here. The NASDAQ down just a little bit more, down 0.8%. The Dow Transport's down about the same. Please note that the mid-cap and small-caps indices like the Russell 2000 were down a little more than the overall market. The big loser this week, as I've highlighted all day, gold stocks down 4.5%. Let's go over to John Metaxas standing by at the NASDAQ. John?
Well, Bob, it was a tired market today. You could see it in the way a lot of the stocks reacted early on, and even the rally was tepid. The rally lasted all of an hour. The market made it back to about break even and finished with a loss of about 8 points. The 5th consecutive weekly loss for the NASDAQ, and while it seemingly dodged the bullet of holding above that 50-day moving average, there's really not much in this market that traders and investors are looking at that can propel it forward. A lot of the activity today was options related and very negative advanced decline line as well. So the NASDAQ basically ending a lackluster session down 8 points, and it looks like it's out of steam. Let's send it back now to Tyler and Michelle.
John, thanks very much. John Metaxas reporting from NASDAQ today. Now, Pepsi, of all companies, is now becoming a big part of the internet file sharing controversy. It all has to do with tipping the bottle. Jim Goldman is live now in Palo Alto. Jim?
Hey, Tyler, good evening to you. Apple Computer and Pepsi launched a $100 million song giveaway during the Super Bowl, a huge campaign building on the popularity and controversy of downloading music from the internet. But downloaders already suffering a reputation for cheating, well, they've come up with a way to cheat this campaign.
Pepsi and Apple are going to give away 100 million free songs legally starting February 1st.
Steve Jobs unveiled the campaign at Macworld last month. Pepsi's ads began running during the Super Bowl.
Hi, I'm one of the kids who was prosecuted for downloading music free off the internet.
Confronting the controversy over illegal music downloads from the internet by offering Pepsi drinkers a chance to win free legal downloads from Apple just by twisting the bottle cap and looking underneath. But just as Pepsi and Apple tried to address one controversy, the two are now facing another, thanks to this 19-year-old Florida college student.
I just discovered that if you tilt the bottle to about 25 degrees and look up towards it, you can see if it's a winner or not.
John Gales normally sees 100,000 visitors to his website every month, but once he posted the trick, he began seeing 100,000 visitors a day.
It carpet bombed the web server pretty much.
And following those directions, just how easy is this? Well, let's take a look. Looks like I may have a winner here. And I won!
It's shooting fish in a barrel, pretty much.
For Pepsi, a bigger potential problem. 300 million bottles printed with the iTunes giveaway. Millions of loser bottles could end up sitting on store shelves unsold.
That is that's the risk for Pepsi. Maybe next time they do a bottle cap promotion, they'll design the bottle cap a little better.
Now, you'd think with Apple's acumen when it comes to design, this wouldn't have been a problem. Now, for its part, Pepsi isn't commenting on this except to say that it has taken steps now to prevent winners from cashing in multiple winning caps in a single day. Apple doesn't care one way or the other. The company isn't really commenting as long as any of this generates traffic to the iTunes website. So, if you haven't gone out already, tip yourself a Pepsi and win yourself a free song. It's really easy. Back to you, Tyler.
All right, thanks, Jim, very much. Michelle?
U.S. soybean prices hit nearly a 7-year high yesterday after Brazil cut its production forecast for the year. The rally continues today, making soybeans our commodity of the day. For more on that, here's Andrew Johnson, agricultural reporter at Oster Dow Jones Commodity Newswires. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
He's joining us from the Chicago Board of Trade. Tell us more about why exactly soybean has been moving. How important is Brazil?
Well, Brazil is a big factor because they are counted on to make up for the shortfall that the U.S. has incurred this year. Currently, the U.S. is encountering inventories projected to be at the lowest in over 25 years. This problem is putting a lot of pressure on Brazil to be able to make up that shortfall. With them having problems, it puts more pressure on the U.S. to produce more crops next year. Today, particularly in soybeans, we rallied over 1.5% on the day, and for the week we were up 7.7% for the week. These things are of big importance to the market as they try to rally to levels that will ration demand. Currently, it has not done that yet, and particularly it has some people conjuring ideas that the market is becoming inelastic to price as the demand for soybeans continues to flourish, particularly from China, and with South America potentially having any type of lower setbacks in their production.
When you talk about South America, exactly what is the problem in Brazil? I know they've been having a lot of issues down there. Is it simply because of rains or the weather, or are there other issues going on?
Particularly it's the weather. Certain areas have been too wet. It's a problem that some of their harvest is going to be delayed. Some areas that are extremely dry that has some problems. There's also talk of Asian rust being where particularly Mexico there's been rumors going around that Mexico was thinking about banning some of the imports from South America because of the Asian rust problem that's going on in their country.
Andrew, thank you very much for all your knowledge.
You're welcome.
Andrew Johnson is commodity news reporter at Oster Dow Jones Commodity Newswires. Coming up next, the top and bottom performers on Wall Street this week.
Let's look ahead at how that highest performing stock may fare next week. All that and more when we come right back.
CNBC Asia. Profit from it. And now, HP brings you Innovative Edge.
For lovers in Hong Kong, saying I love you with flowers is taking on a whole new meaning. This company, Hong Kong Creative Flower, has developed a technology which allows the lovelorn to say it with flowers, literally, with personalized messages written on the petal of a rose. You can send a message on a rose to a loved one or to customers with your company logo or slogan. You can even print a picture of yourself. Using a combination of 3D and laser technology, the company embosses the delicate petals using a special ink. But the price of love doesn't come cheap. One rose costs $18 US, half a dozen costs $63, and 1 dozen will set you back $100. But the company argues that the price is right.
Innovative Edge was brought to you by HP.
Today, HP technology is building efficient miracles, helping access the web wirelessly in coffee houses, and letting citizens talk to their government 24 hours a day. It's powering the engine of the world economy and making art timeless. For the world's great companies, thinkers, and doers, HP makes more things more possible.
people don't just watch CNBC, they use CNBC.
Our live coverage and in-depth analysis of global financial markets means you'll always be on top of breaking news. Legal trouble at Rio Tinto's Indonesian.
It's important knowing who the market's winners and losers are.
The shares soared. Profit would likely
knowing when to make your move.
It's the CNBC Edge that will help you stay ahead. Profit from it today.
Mark Loudy and Amanda Drury on CNBC. Profit from it.
By percentage. Remember, this is only an exhibition, not a competition. Please, no wagering. Cost Pharma down 20%, El Paso down 16%, Novell off 15%, Impax Labs down 14.5%, Embratel is also lower by 13%. As for the week's winners, now remember, these may be very low-priced stocks, so a move of $1 or so may translate into large price gains. Elan up 48.4% on the week. Rambus up 31.5%. Biogen IDEC up nearly 31%. NetEase.com up 22.4%. And Omnivision Technology higher by 22%.
In fact, let's talk more about Elan right now. There's Elan today. It was lower by 59 cents. But look at this week-long chart. You can see the big rise. For the past 2 days, the Irish drug maker shares have been soaring high enough to make Elan the stock of the week. For more on the 48% jump and what the future may hold for Elan, here's Albert Walsh from A.G. Edwards. He's senior healthcare analyst and joins us from St. Louis. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
The company filed this week for application with the FDA for its multiple sclerosis drug. Is that the reason the stock moved so much, and why is it so important that the stocks took such a big jump?
Well, I think with the company's announcement that they're going to be able to file Antegrin, their treatment for multiple sclerosis, mid-04, that was a big positive event for the company because most people were expecting that the drug to be filed in mid-05, so it's a year earlier. But the reason people reacted it so positively was that basically the FDA is allowing them to file with 1-year data instead of the 2-year data that the other therapies have had to use to file. So the indication from the FDA is that this data is very robust. And with robust data, it gives people a lot of comfort that this drug's going to get easier approval, that it's going to be able to penetrate markets, that it's going to be able to get premium pricing to other products on the market, and that it's going to be able to effectively have an earlier launch because of the 1-year earlier filing.
You upgraded the stock to a buy, but still speculative. Why?
Well, Elan's had a very interesting last 15 months. 15 months ago, this was a company that was up against the ropes, selling off assets just to maintain liquidity to keep funding operations. And now it's turned around in 15 months and has potentially a new leading therapy for multiple sclerosis.
You've got a price objective of $18, so you still think it can rise from here. Why that particular price?
Oh, basically what we did is we looked at the greater potential for Antegrin, not only for treating multiple sclerosis, but for treating other autoimmune diseases. It's in phase 3 clinical trials for Crohn's disease, phase 2 trials for rheumatoid arthritis, and we think there's some significant clinical data out there that could support its utilization in asthma.
Thank you, Mr. Rash.
Thank you.
Albert Rash is senior healthcare analyst with A.G. Edwards.
Alrighty, two of the biggest stories of the week are on the table next. That includes Mr. Skilling's walk into a Houston courtroom.
Plus, mergers and acquisitions and Disney's attempt to keep Comcast at bay. We're coming right back.
CNBC Asia. Profit from it.
In the future, we will communicate differently, work differently, live differently. solutions for your digital life and business. Cebit. Get the spirit of tomorrow. March 2004 in Hanover, Germany.
No matter what size your business is, if you have something to sell or if there's something you want to buy, now there's a place on the internet where buyers can find qualified suppliers from China and around the world. Just visit Alibaba.com and find qualified suppliers on the internet. Work hard, play hard, with Boss Bottled and Boss in Motion. The fragrances from Hugo Boss.
32 years, 10,000 Dow points, 6 presidential administrations, 4 Federal Reserve chairman, 1 financial journalist.
Don't you worry for a minute, my friend. You're not alone tonight.
Louis Rukeyser's Wall Street, making sense of all things business.
Weekends on CNBC Asia.
Only one show goes behind the headlines, looking deep into stories that drive Asia. The Asian Wall Street Journal.
Hong Kong's economy grew.
With exclusive insights from the editors of Asia's premier business newspaper, we bring you a preview of tomorrow's front page, giving you a jump on the business and political news of the day. Plus interviews with business leaders, comprehensive analysis on issues affecting Asia. The Asian Wall Street Journal, weeknights on CNBC Asia.
Nice look there at the White House, a hint of spring in the air probably in my hometown of D.C. This week 2 of the Comcast-Disney saga, while Disney said a very quick no to Comcast's unsolicited takeover try, this is definitely not the end of the story. And former CEO of Enron, Jeffrey Skilling, handcuffed, it was not a hands-free moment for him, and brought into court on 42 charges related to the fall of that energy trading giant. For more on both of those big stories, Martin Sikora, editor of Mergers and Acquisitions magazine, joining us from Philadelphia. Mr. Sikora, welcome.
Okay, I can see her over there. That's great.
All right, good. Mary Flood, I'm glad you can hear us. Legal reporter for the Houston Chronicle. She is, believe it or not, in Houston. And David Wells is here. He's senior Wall Street correspondent at the Financial Times. Mr. Wells, welcome back. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
We saw you back in the fall the first time we did this. Let's talk a little bit about the return of big deals. That seems to be one of the stories of the week. There was the singular AT&T wireless thing. There's Disney and Comcast still on the griddle. A lot of other things. What does it say?
We've got a boomlet going. We're trying to figure out if it's a fledgling merger boom, a full out what seems to be. You've got a number of things making that a case. You've got bids that are both cash and stock, which is always good to see. You've got both hostile and non-hostile bids. The hostiles are also make it for a healthy merger environment. And you've got it across industries. There's a lot of breadth here. So you've got media, you've got telecom, you've got banking, you've got pharmaceuticals. So there's a lot of business going on here, a lot of money being paid. JP Morgan actually came out today and said that paid themselves $40 million for the Bank One merger, and Lazard made 20. So it's good business.
They paid themselves $40 million in services. That's a nice way to do some accounting. Mr. Sikora, welcome. Good to see you. I can only imagine that investment bankers, after a couple of years in the doldrums, and lawyers are very, very happy about this.
Oh, they're loving it. But it's interesting. You mentioned the word, David or Wells mentioned the word boomlet. And I wouldn't go beyond that. It shows signs of life. It shows signs of recovery after a slump of about 3 years. But what I haven't seen, although these big deals are getting a lot of ink and a lot of airtime, there has not been a broad-based development both on the buy side and the sell side of the mergers and acquisitions marketplace. So we've got some time to go yet.
What do you think, David, of what Mr. Sikora just said?
He's right. You haven't seen, the middle market deals never really went away. Last year there were plenty of those, and those will continue. What you've got to see a little bit more of now are these sort of $10 and $15 billion. We want to see them across all industries. As I said, we've got media, we've got telecom, we've got pharmaceuticals, we've got the big guns going. But we need to see that there are more stuff going. We had good numbers so far, $350 billion of deals in the first 6 weeks of the year. That's triple last year. So it's a good start to the year, but a 1 quarter is not a year make. We've got to see some more solid demand coming, but the confidence is back.
Let's switch to Mary Flood and talk a little bit about that story developing out of Houston this week, it being, of course, the charging of the former CEO of Enron, Jeffrey Skilling. Ms. Flood, how is Houston taking this news?
Well, Houston's interested, but I don't think that we're as Enron-centric as the rest of the world thinks we are. I think the Super Bowl was a pretty big deal here. And Jeff Skilling's indictment was a pretty big deal. I think people are pleased to see that the Enron task force is moving ahead. And they kind of get it, I suspect, that 2 years isn't all that long for something this complicated.
Mr. Skilling employed Mr. Petrocelli, the attorney, to defend him. He did not go with one of the familiar Houston legal names to do this, and they are very good attorneys, used to trial work down there. They don't settle. Why did he go outside of, why do you think he went outside of the Texas legal establishment for his representation?
Well, he went outside and stayed inside. He has a brilliant local lawyer, a guy named Ron Woods. He's a former FBI agent, a former U.S. attorney here. He's sort of the dean emeritus of the defense bar, and he was the one who did the talking in court. Dan Petrocelli was the one who did the talking on the sidewalk. Mr.
Inside and Mr. Outside.
You got it.
That kind of thing.
Well, I'm sure they'll both talk inside in the future.
Yeah, I'm sure they both will. David, your reaction as you sit here in New York, Mary just said that maybe the rest of the world might be a little more Enron-centric than, and people in the media, of course. I think it is fair to say that we in the media and most of the world missed that story as it was unfolding. We bought it hook, line, and sinker the same way. Maybe we're focusing so much on it as a kind of penance for what we missed.
You could easily say that, and we haven't stopped the self-flagellation from all of the sins of the boom era, both whether it's the press or bankers or regulators or anyone. The one thing about Enron and going after Skilling now, what that will provide investors with is a little bit of confidence, because we've seen how regulators come out with new regulations. We've seen companies do things that are supposed to boost investor confidence, but people want to know that when bad things happen, people get punished. Now, it's taken some time, but Skilling now is going to be at least allegedly gone after, and we're going to see what happens.
Mary,
and he'll get his day in court, just like Martha Stewart.
Mary, what is Mr. Skilling's financial position right now, personally? Has he, are his assets frozen? Or has he had to sell assets? What's the situation there?
Mr. Skilling showed up in court yesterday with a $5 million cashier's check. I think he's doing fine. A lot of his assets were frozen, including his home, his River Oaks mansion. But he made a great deal of money, and I think he's still fine. He's spending an enormous amount on this trial team, and he's got to still have a lot of cash.
He does look like he's been eating well since he left there. I noticed a few more pounds on him.
I don't do fat jokes.
Not that I should be complaining about that.
It's just winter weight, Tom.
Just winter weight, yes, that's right. It'll all melt away in the summer. Mr. Sikora, where do you think the big deals will go next? Let's just get back to that one and tie it off.
Well, I think they're going to be pretty much in the same areas because the areas where the big deals have taken place are the areas where the deals are going to go down.
Telecom, banking,
healthcare, because they're going to go down regardless of what the economic, financial markets, etc. environment is taking place, because there's a strategic need to do these kinds of deals.
Right.
One of the things that has intrigued me, for example, with Comcast, somebody once said, you can see, this guy is so reasonable, he can see 3 sides to every story. Well, in the case, there are so many angles within angles,
right,
and so much debate over Comcast going after Disney. But one of the things that I'm scratching my head about, there's nobody else, I'm not scratching my head over it, I know why, but there's nobody else that seems to be stepping up or willing to bid. And this this doesn't clear up the issue, it complicates the issue.
Right. Well, you have a unique perspective sitting there in Philadelphia for watching this. We'll be back to you as it unfolds, because I'm sure you have more than a passing interest in it with Comcast as a hometown player.
Right.
Thanks very much, Mr.
building.
Sikora. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate your being with us. Mary Flood, thank you very much. Enjoyed having you. And David Wells, always good to see you. Michelle?
Tyler, do you have a boss from hell? When we come back, advice on surviving and thriving despite the obstacle.
CNBC Asia. Profit from it.
Soon. No me digas cuando
The Samsung E700 with self-portrait and multi-shot. Shoot what you love. Visit Weston.com, member of Starwood Preferred Guest.
Serini from Hugo Boss separates the men from the boys.
Sit back and relax.
CNBC's Red Hot Weekends. New shows, new entertainment, new on CNBC. The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, late night talk show's best.
What you got right? Come on, show the kids the money.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night. Saturday Night Live, Emmy Award-winning comedy.
I'm awesome.
MGM Movies, Hollywood's best.
Hey, come on!
And Outside the Box, your insights to the most interesting and unconventional business stories.
4 seconds to grab a guy's attention.
It's all here, sizzling hot.
Love it.
CNBC, spicing up your weekend.
If it seems things are moving too fast, you need news as it breaks to stay ahead. Dow Jones Newswires provides real-time financial news vital for today's businesses.
Huge gains.
You get access to that comprehensive coverage through CNBC's exclusive partnership with Dow Jones Newswires.
The dollar is still rebounding both against the euro
and get the news as it breaks.
Singapore dollar is up, pushing the US dollar down.
Definitive business and markets coverage in real time, Dow Jones and CNBC.
One channel goes exclusive.
In the direction of flexible exchange rates.
Upfront and in-depth with Asia's leaders.
Government that can share power.
CNBC, staying on top of the politics, the issues, bringing you information that affects your investments, your business.
More flexible labor market policy.
Poverty and hopelessness are the biggest weapons of terrorism.
We would like to give peace its ultimate chance.
Keeping you in the know. CNBC, profit from it.
One thing is to use humor. So if your boss likes to belittle you in a group and say, I don't know why I hired you, you can say, well, don't worry, you'll never make that mistake again. You can kind of joke back a little bit with them, or they might say, I don't know why I gave you this assignment. You say, don't be so hard on yourself. You know, you show them that you're gonna take it lightly, you're going to give it back as good as you get with a smile on your face, that you have enough confidence not to just shrink in terror, because unfortunately that just reinforces the bad behavior. Another thing that you can do... No, I'm sorry. Another thing that you can do, and that I really recommend, is to consider the source. What drives this person's behavior? What makes them so awful to deal with? Think about it. Poor self-esteem, 95% of the time. Lousy self-esteem. They're insecure. They're insecure. And they like to feel better about themselves by making other people, especially people that they supervise, feel bad. So the way to deal with that is not to kiss their rear end, but to sort of say to them, you know, you did a great job in that presentation, Charlie, and I'd love to talk to you about this report that I did. And just kind of interact with them more or less like equals, which is the healthiest way to be with your boss in any case. Some people would like to get back at a boss from hell, perhaps sabotage them. What do you think about that? It's a very human reaction. I understand it. I don't support it. I think that what happens when you sabotage your boss, even if it's a boss from hell, is that you sink down to the same level. And what you want to do is be supportive of the relationship, role model a better, more mature, more professional way to communicate, and take that high road. Because if the company, when the company comes to its senses and removes this person from the picture, you'd like to be standing there shining, having been completely professional the whole way along. Ms. Ryan, thank you so much for your time. Thanks. Great pieces of advice. Liz Ryan, CEO of WorldWit. For more information about what she said, go online to worldwit.org. O-R-G.
All righty.